Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Mark. Today I want to talk about this very nice graphic that was released by 17 Lands and explain what this means in relation to the ladder, the mythic ladder. And my interest in this is particularly for the constructed ladder, but I think the behavior in the constructed ladder and the mythic ladder is similar in relation to this phenomenon. It's just more pronounced, very likely. It's just more pronounced in the constructed ladder than it is in the limited ladder. But of course, as you can see here, the 17 lands graphic is based on data from the limited ladder. Right. So what can we see here? So we can see here is basically a scatter plot, right, of positions gained or lost. So these are the number of positions you move. Like from, let's say you win a game, right? You win a game, so you move from top 500 to top 400, right? Or you lose a game, so you move from top 400 to top 500 or to top 500, 510, something like that, right? So that's what we mean by this positions gained and lost. And here we have our starting rank, right? So the rank at which they won or lost the game. And as we can see here, so there's of course biases involved in this graphic. Uh, uh, since it is taken only from 17 lands users, and this is from the mythic from the limited ladder, so that also has to be taken into account. But the main trend here that we're seeing that is clear, that's crystal clear, that's probably going to be the same, it's very likely the same for constructed, is when you look at the X's, the losses versus the wins, right? So losses means that that particular user lost ranks instead of, so they lost the game, so they lost ranks. And as a green circle means that that user, that data point won the game, and therefore they gained ranks. And what you can see here clearly are that the losses in general are much higher than the gains. Of course, we also have losses here, right? We also have gains here, and that's another very important trend, right? So as you can see here, what separates this side from this side is the starting rank, right? And what you can see here is that if you have a lower starting rank, meaning if you're starting from a better position, you are at top 200 or top 400, right? What you can see here is if you're on that side, then each loss is a lot more painful, and each win gives you much smaller reward. On the other hand, if you look at this side, this half where you're from 800 to 1400, it seems the same, right? Your losses and your gains. In fact, we even have some outliers here where the gains are higher, right? But essentially what you can see here is that if you are looking at this right hand side, losses and gains in ranks are about the same. Okay? Yeah. So is that reasonable? Yes, that's exactly what we expect. Okay, and why is that so? Because you can see here on this graphic over on the right, this is how the mythic ladder is basically set up. So you can think of the mythic ladder as just a straight line, right? That the first place down to the 1200 place, and then 1201, and so on, so forth down the line. And yes, you can think about it that way, since essentially every time you win, you move up the ladder. Every time you lose, you move down the ladder, right? But the the size at which you move up or down is not determined, or you can't see it just by looking at this straight line, right? Because that is determined by the score that you gained or you lost, okay, or your MMR, the MMR, how your MMR changes. Let's just call it a score, how your score changes. right? And they have to have some way of breaking those ties. I'm not sure how they break ties. Other people have done work on that, and I think they will be able to answer that question. But so basically, you have a score. Every time you win, your score improves. Every time you lose, your score worsens. And your rank here is dependent on your score relative to everyone else's. Okay? And so what does that mean? That means that our mythic ladder has this pyramid structure, right? This pyramid structure where at the top here you have the people with the highest scores, right? You have people with the highest scores, and then the scores get lower and lower as you go down. But at the same time, that means that the people at the top, right? The people at the top, there are much fewer of them, right? There are only 250 of them, and so their scores, right? Their scores are distributed more sparsely than we have the scores here, right? From 251 to 1,200, right? So it means that every time you win a game here, every time, so if you're in the top 250, right, or better, and you win a game there, right? Let's say your current score is let's say 1,006. We're using like an ELO rating. Let's say 1,800, right? Your score is 1,800. So that's your score, not your rank. Your rank is top. You're currently, for example, at top 200, right? And then your score, your hidden score, you can't see that, is 1,800. So the other people who are above you, who are above number 200, right? So they may have a score of that's higher than 1,800. So for example, let's say number 199 has a score of 1,805. Right? So he has a higher score than you. That's why he's 199. And there's no one who has a score in between 1,800 and 1,805 at the moment. That's why you have rank 200 and they have rank 199. And let's say rank 198 has, sorry for my penmanship, 1,815. Right? So that's why, let's say that's their score. Now, suppose you win a game, right? Suppose you win a game versus someone in the ladder. Like it doesn't matter who. I mean, it does based on like it matters how many points you're going to earn, right? But let's say you get matched against someone in the ladder, right? And let's say you earn 10 points. So you earn 10 points, right? So now your score is 1,810. Right? And what does that mean? That means that you surpass 199. So you are now the new 199. You are now the new 199, and this guy becomes the new 200. Right? So that's how the rankings changed. Right? Now, how about if you lost the games? How about if you lost 10 points? So now your new score, instead of being 1,800, is going to be 1,790. So take note that you lost the same amount. Let's say you lost the same amount, right? So meaning that you were paired up against someone close to your rank, right? So that means that the number of ranks you win will be the same as the number of ranks you lose. Now, you would think, you might think that it should be the case that you should also just fall down one level. Instead of number 200, you'll now be number 201. But that's simply not the case because there are more people below you, a lot more people below you, than there are people above you. So the chances of people having scores that are very close to yours is higher, right? So imagine, right? You can fit more people below you than you can fit above you in this case, right? So imagine that, and you would see, you would realize that there may be people below you with scores such as 1,793, 1,792, right? 1,795. All of these people will now pass you, because your score had fallen down from 1,800 to 1,790. So instead of just going from number 200 to number 201, you may go down to number 250, like depending on how many people are below you. And it gets worse the worse the lower you go down the ladder, the more you will get people with about the same score as you have. The density of those people with similar scores close to each other, right, are going to be higher and higher. There will be more people as you go down. And that also explains why we see this on the right hand side, right? Because at some point, when you go down this ladder, it would now hardly matter how, because the number of people above you will be about the same as the number of people below you, right? So each gain will be about now this more similar to each loss, right? So that's why you would experience that when you are in the lower ranks, but as you get higher and higher up the ladder, it gets more and more difficult. Not because of some not because of some forced element, not because the system is forcing you, right? But it's because that's the natural direction of competition, right? The higher you move up, the more you're going to face these walls of people with just very high scores, right? And there will be a lot fewer of them to pass. So each time you get a bump in your scores, there will be fewer people that you'll be able to pass. Whereas if you lose a game, there are a lot more people waiting for you at the bottom for you to lose a game, and they'll all surpass you. There'll be chunks of people who will surpass you. Okay? So I hope that this makes things clear. And if you are vying for the top 250 this season or the top 1,200, of course there are prizes to be won, right? If you are in the top 250 by the end of the season, you go directly to compete in the qualifier weekend, which will be done online. And if you do well there, then you get to play at the championship. On the other hand, if you score in between 250, I mean, if you end the season at top 251 to top 1,200, then you get enough points, play-in points, you get 20 play-in points to join one of the play-in events. All right. So good luck to everyone who's attempting to do that, and may the shuffler be with you always.